ready to tackle something we've all dealt with, regret. It's tricky. Those shoulda, woulda, couldas can really get to you. But what if there's a way to not just live with regrets, but learn from them? We're diving into a Psych2Go video, How to Live with Fewer Regrets, to find out. And, hopefully our experts got some good insights on this for us today.
Absolutely. The video is a really interesting look at the psychology behind regret. It's not just like wishing we'd done things differently. It's understanding why our brains get stuck on the past.
Totally. It's like our brains can be our own worst critics. Like the video talks about analysis paralysis, which I've totally experienced, overthinking everything so much that I end up making no decision at all.
Yeah, exactly. And the video explains that so well. Our brains are wired to keep us safe, so they focus on the worst case scenario, which, it's supposed to protect us from danger.
But the dangers today aren't usually life or death like they used to be.
Exactly. Turning down a job might feel scary, but it's not going to get you, eaten by a tiger or something. But our brains react like it's a real threat. The video calls them worry-based fantasies, which is such a good way to put it.
Worry-based fantasies, I love that. It's like our brains creating all this drama around something that, hasn't even happened and might never happen.
Right. It's all in our heads. There's this writer for Psychology Today, Amy Fry, and she talks about how we basically put ourselves through the ringer with these imagined situations. We're feeling actual fear about something we made up.
Okay, now that is kind of terrifying when you really think about it. So how do we get out of this loop of what ifs and should haves?
Well, the video suggests something kind of surprising, prioritizing ourselves.
Okay, now some people might hear that and think, wait, isn't that selfish? But I think this is where self-compassion comes in.
You got it. And they highlight the work of Kristen Neff in the video, who's like a big name in self-compassion research. She says it's not about being narcissistic or anything. It's about realizing you're worthy of care and attention, just like you would a friend or something.
Right, okay, that makes more sense. Not putting yourself above others, but treating yourself with the same kindness you would anyone else you care about.
Exactly. And there's actually research backing this up. Being kind to yourself, especially when you mess up, can actually be really motivating.
Really? So, like, beating yourself up is actually counterproductive.
Yeah, a lot of times. They did these studies. I think one was at UC Berkeley, the other the Society for Personality and Social Psychology. And they found that people who showed themselves compassion after a failure, they were way more likely to learn from it and actually make positive changes.
That's really interesting. So it's not about letting yourself off the hook. It's about giving yourself space to grow.
Exactly. And the video actually goes on to talk about this idea of giving yourself grace, which I don't know about you, but I think we could all use a little more of that. It really is important, giving yourself grace. Think about it like, would you ever talk to a friend the way you talk to yourself when you mess up?
Oh, absolutely not. You'd be understanding, maybe even try to make them laugh about it a little.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But we're so hard on ourselves. The video connects giving yourself grace with self-forgiveness, which can be, really powerful.
Yeah. It's not about pretending it didn't happen, right?
Right. It's about acknowledging the mistake, maybe even the hurt it caused, but then, consciously letting go of the blame, that shame that keeps you stuck.
It's like hitting reset instead of just replaying the same bad tape over and over.
Exactly. Remember that study, the one about regret and self-compassion from 2015?
Mhm.
Turns out self-forgiveness can help turn that regret into, motivation.
So instead of, I can't believe I did that, it's more, okay, what can I do differently next time?
Exactly. Shifting from self-criticism to, self-growth. And this kind of leads into the video's last point about pacing ourselves.
Oh, I like that. It's so easy to set these huge goals, and then when you don't reach them right away, it's just discouraging.
Right. The video actually quotes Benjamin Franklin here, make haste slowly. It's a good reminder, sustainable progress is way more valuable than these quick fixes.
I love that. You didn't get here overnight, and you're not going to get there overnight either, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's this clinician and psychologist, Joel Friedman, he wrote about this, The Art of Pacing. He says, we get so caught up in this idea of reaching our goals all at once, but change takes time.
It really does. We live in a world that's all about instant gratification, but real growth. That doesn't usually happen that way.
Exactly. So the video really stresses setting realistic goals. And even more than that, breaking those goals down into smaller steps.
It's like, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. You can't expect to just, conquer regret overnight.
Right, exactly.
It's about those small, everyday choices that get you where you want to be.
I think that's actually really empowering.
Yeah.
It takes the pressure off of being perfect.
Yeah.
We can just focus on those small changes.
Yeah. It's funny, we started talking about how our brains can be our own worst enemies, but it's like when you start being kind to yourself,
Yeah.
it's like you unlock this power to learn and grow from anything, even the bad stuff.
Yeah, totally. You know, that makes me think of this quote. I think it was Carl Rogers who said it. He said, "The funny thing is, when I accept myself, that's when I can actually change.
Yeah.
Like, when you give yourself grace, that's when you can really change."
Wow. That's a good one. So, as we're wrapping up this deep dive on regret and self compassion, is there like one big takeaway you'd want to leave our listeners with? Something to think about as they're, going through their own journeys with this stuff?
Honestly, after everything we talked about,
Yeah.
just be kind to yourself. It's okay to be a work in progress, right?
Hmm.
Like, embrace those imperfections, learn from the mistakes, and just remember that every day is a new chance to choose self-compassion.
That's a great point to end on. And, on that note, think about it. What's one little thing you can do today just for yourself to show yourself some kindness? Until next time, keep diving deep.